Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Barry Hudson. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor and Communications Manager for the County Executive. I'd like to welcome you all here this morning for this press conference on the alleged illegal activities at certain banquet halls in Prince George's County. Today we're here to essentially lay out exactly what the county has been doing over a number of years related to this issue. But I want to call up our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Public Safety, Mr. Barry Stanton, to provide you all with background and an overview. Barry?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody this morning? Again, my name's Barry Stanton. I'm the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Public Safety for Prince George's County. Today, Prince George's County government is here to present to the media, the public, and the communities our ongoing efforts to address the alleged illegal activities in certain county banquet halls in the county. We are here this morning because the Baker administration, which is the executive branch of government, is not going to allow certain outlets to dictate our response to how we deal with a very complicated and complex issue associated with dance hall violations, alleged sex trafficking, and criminal conduct in certain establishments in Prince George's County. Let me remind you, this is a public safety issue. If people are being used to conduct illegal activity, we need to focus on that. So the focus of our message today is to make sure that the community and the viewing public is keenly aware of the Baker administration actions and what we are doing concerning illegal activity in our banquet halls. Claims that this administration has not been responsive enough in addressing questions and concerns that they have brought to our attention is not correct. We cannot support sensationalism of sex trafficking in the county and in certain banquet halls that is not supported by substantiated facts. Today, we welcome the opportunity to clarify our position, provide our response, and assure the public that we are working hard to rid these establishments of illegal activity, and verified and discovered through good investigative work through our police department and our Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. Prince George's County has and continues to respond to a complicated issue that includes enforcement actions we have taken concerning claims that there is evidence of sex trafficking, code violations, and alleged illegal activities in our banquet halls. We are doing this press conference to let our citizens know that their government is what their government is doing to deal with the alleged illegal activity in these dance halls. Let me be clear. We're going to be methodical based on our legislative requirements in our approach in dealing with these establishments. We have been dealing with this issue for years. Dealing with violations in dance hall clubs is not new to this administration. And you will see this as a number of individuals come forward to provide you with information and facts that we have gathered. Just for the record, we have, this administration, we have closed establishments. We have issued violations, and yes, we have been to court. We are not sitting on our hands doing nothing. I want the public and the Prince George's County community to understand that we are working hard to deal with this issue. We are doing our job for the citizens and the taxpayers of this great county. Today, we are going to tell our story, and tell our story our way, the Prince George's County way. As I stated earlier, this is a complicated issue from a zoning enforcement perspective, from a law enforcement perspective, from a legal perspective, and most of all, from a legislative perspective. Our employees and our departments are fighting every day to address this issue. Whether we like it or not, adult entertainment is not illegal. It is allowed, and it is a First Amendment right. However, as a person in charge of public safety, establishments can be shut down and will be shut down for any illegal infractions or violations of the law. I will support that, and I will push that. The county has not been ignoring this issue. Let me be clear. You will hear from county staff today that we have shut down clubs. We have issued violations. There are laws on the books, despite our efforts, where we have ended up in court trying to address this ongoing problem. We will continue to fight and fight in court. To our legitimate business partners, business owners, I want to say, we want you doing business in Prince George's County. We need your business. Those that are not following the rules, we will take appropriate steps to violate you and shut you down. I want to be clear. To our community members who has concerns, I want you to know we will continue to fight this fight for you and your neighborhood. You are not alone, and we need your help. If you know of any illegal activity, possible violations of zoning laws, we want you to call 311, 911, and our Crime Solvers tip line. We need the community's help and engagement. We cannot do this alone. We need to know what is going on. Just to provide some basic information, this will also be provided by some of the agencies up here that I will introduce, and they will come forward in a few minutes. Since 2011, permanent and temporary club closures have been 71. Permanent and temporary club closures have been approximately 71. Of those closures, 16 were adult entertainment clubs. 16. We are doing something, and we are doing our job. Since 2011, the Prince George's County Police Department, the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement, and the County Attorney's Office have worked closely together to enforce public safety, permitting issues, zoning issues, and compliance issues to the extent the existing laws will allow. So before I introduce staff, let me say to Fox 5, the story. According to your video, you have information that may appear criminal in nature. As a matter of public safety, I ask you to please provide us with footage and witnesses in your story so we can investigate these claims to the fullest extent of the law. Provide us with any information about any criminal conduct or behavior that occurred in these two establishments mentioned while you were recording the alleged illegal activity. We want to conduct an appropriate investigation into all claims. So what I will say, as a matter of public safety, I must make this request. I must. So at this point, I would like to now introduce Gary Cunningham, Deputy Director of the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement, to talk about the actions his agency has taken concerning those establishments. Gary?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Again, I'm Gary Cunningham, the Deputy Director of the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. And just to give you somewhat of an overview, the issue of illegal nightclubs is not foreign to Prince George's County nor any other major jurisdiction. In 2006, Prince George's County had what was called a Livable Communities Initiative. That was a task force of different regulatory agencies within Prince George's County, and we came together to look at code enforcement issues related to nightclubs. In 2011, that group was renamed the Joint Agency Group. It contains regulatory agencies within the county, police department, fire department, health department, office of law, state's attorney's office, Department of Public Works, comptroller's office, revenue authority, and the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. And as you've heard, since 2011, we've issued violation notices and closed at least 71 nightclubs in Prince George's County. 16 of them, we believe, were involved in some type of adult entertainment. So we have taken some actions in those areas. In January of this year, we've issued 4 violation notices to nightclubs that are operating within Prince George's County that we also believe are operating with adult entertainment. So we have taken actions, and we will continue to do that. Code enforcement in Prince George's County for zoning violations, and a use and occupancy permit is issued to every business within Prince George's County, and within that use and occupancy permit, it states what their permitted uses are. In 2014, we issued 1,283 violation notices to different businesses within Prince George's County, and some of them were nightclubs. So we do take the issue very seriously, and we are taking efforts to address it. Currently, legislation has been introduced so that nightclubs coming online in Prince George's County or anywhere else have to go to what's called an I-2 zone, an industrial area, and moved away from communities like some of the issues that we're facing now. They also have to file for what's called a special exception. If they were here prior to this legislation that came in online, they have to file a special exception to continue to do business in Prince George's County. We're currently working with the National Park and Planning Commission to look at the zoning regulations in Prince George's County, and we're asking for additional setbacks to ensure that these businesses are not only in industrial areas, but they're also set back from different communities. We are looking at the use and occupancy permit legislation. It does not allow us to shut down a business specifically for a violation of the use and occupancy permit. However, if there's a clear public safety concern, we can shut them down immediately. Adult dancing does not rise to that level unless there are other circumstances that follow with that. Again, we're a partner with the Joint Agency Group. We meet on a regular basis. We determine which nightclubs that we'll go to. And this is an ongoing effort that has been going on, whether you want to call it the Livable Communities Initiative or the Joint Agency Group. It's been going on since 2006. So we've been working on this for quite some time now. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, and he's going to be limited, I would ask that Mr. Jared McCarthy, he's the Deputy County Manager for Prince George's County. He's going to talk about some legislative and legal issues, but I want to be clear that because we are involved in a pending lawsuit, he is going to be limited on what he can say. But I wanted him, with the support of our county attorney, to at least come up and make a few statements about where we are, what we are doing, and how we're going to address this issue. Jared?
Thank you, Barry. Good morning. I think my title got recast, so I will say it again. Jared McCarthy, Deputy County Attorney. Where we're at currently in this matter is there is litigation pending in the United States District Court for the District of Maryland. That's located up in Greenbelt, Maryland. There is federal litigation that involves 4 specific clubs, and those clubs are D2, otherwise known as Fuegos, which is one of the clubs reported on in the Fox 5 story. There is a second club called Images, also known as Sensationals, which is located in the Seabrook area of the county. There is X4B, which is located in the Temple Hills area of the county. and then there is Baz and Crew, which is located in the Forestville area of the county. These 4 clubs filed a federal lawsuit in June of 2013 seeking to prevent the enforcement of Council Bill 46, 2010 and Council Bill 56, 2011. Those bills specifically regulate adult entertainment. The challenge is based on the First Amendment to the United States Constitution and is basically asserting that these bills are unconstitutional. The county is currently in pending litigation, so I can't really speak to the specifics of where we're at other than to say that this matter is currently in discovery. We are continuing to participate in this litigation, and we anticipate that it will wrap up at least the discovery phase some point in the summer of this year. Where it goes from there is obviously at the discretion of the federal judge handling the case. To give a little bit more background, I know there's been some reporting about the legislation not being in existence until 2010. I want to clarify some of those issues. Previous legislation has been initiated by Prince George's County. Specifically in 2003, there were bills passed. It was, if you bear with me, I'll give you the specifics, CB 86, 2013. And that was challenged in the federal courts in a case called Wet Sands versus Prince George's County. There was subsequent legislation passed in 2006, which is CB 31, 2006 and CB 61, 2006. That legislation was also challenged in the United States District Court. That case is also known as Wet Sands versus Prince George's County. It's known mostly as Wet Sands number 2. And then finally, there was legislation done at the state level. All the liquor laws in the counties, as you may or may not be aware, are done at the state level by the Maryland General Assembly. Legislation was passed in the Maryland Annotated Code, Article 2B, Section 10-405. That legislation was also challenged in the United States Federal Court for the District of Maryland, and that case is known as Legend Nightclub versus Miller. So throughout the course of this, we are obviously aware of these clubs. We have been in litigation with them for a number of years, and we will continue to remain in litigation. And obviously the county, once the litigation resolves, whether it resolves at the district level, whether it goes up on appeal to the United States Fourth Circuit, we will take whatever actions we are able to consistent with the judicial rulings. Thank you.
Okay, before we take questions, I would like to introduce George Nader, Deputy Police Chief for the Prince George's County Police Department, who's going to discuss some enforcement efforts, the issue of criminal activity, and some of our investigative process. Deputy Nader.
Thanks, sir. Good morning. I'm George Nader. I'm the Deputy Chief for the Bureau of Forensic Science and Intelligence. One of the components that I have under me within the intelligence unit is the JAG, which is the Joint Agency Group. We participate in that with the county, and also Human Trafficking Prostitution Unit. It falls under my purview. With the JAG, I wanted to explain, I think you heard a little bit about what JAG is, but what the police department's role is specifically. We go out with the Joint Agency Group and conduct inspections. These are very overt inspections. The group goes out to various establishments within Prince George's County to include banquet halls, adult entertainment, and other trade establishments. Could be a liquor store, it could be a hotel. So we go out to ensure that these individuals are operating under the mechanisms in the law. When we spot violations, what we look for is, who does this violation fall under? There may be a legal violation that will come under the purview of the police department. There may be a zoning infraction that comes under DPI. So what we do is that component will take that, and in conjunction with the Office of Law, determine what the best action is moving forward to rectify this situation with the establishment. So when we look at JAG, that's what our participation is in that group. Often we go out in a covert, or we use other investigative methods to bring about evidence that would otherwise not be obtained with a very covert operation. So we go in an overt operation. So we'll go in a covert manner, or we will have other investigative methods where we obtain evidence that proves violations of use and occupancy permits or proves violations of the law. And at that point, we use those covert methods to move forward and bring those individuals to justice or issue violations. Sometimes they're closing orders, sometimes they lead to criminal charges. So that's what our role is for JAG. Now, when we look at human trafficking or sex trafficking, this unit was developed to focus specifically on prostitution and sex trafficking and human trafficking within Prince George's County. So we have individuals that their full-time job is to focus on this crime. We also have members that are assigned to the FBI's task force for human trafficking. We have 2 officers that are assigned to that to look at human trafficking on a larger scale within the region and to include Prince George's County. So these officers operate on a daily basis, and they go to various establishments, and they go, and sometimes various investigative methods are used to identify those persons involved in the sex trade. We take a holistic approach where we focus on the various aspects of the sex trade. So we will do sting operations where we identify prostitutes, johns, and pimps. When we identify prostitution, we are also a part of the human trafficking task force in Prince George's County. And the goal there is we look at each case as an individual case. Because there are some times when these people in the sex trade may need services, they may need referrals to persons that can help them, or it may lead to arrest. But each case is individual. And what we do is we try to look at the best interest for that person, what we feel is best going to help them. How can we get them out of this lifestyle? Because that's the goal. And we also try to do everything we can to prevent people from crossing that threshold into the sex trade. And so that's our overall goal. And that's where our work with the Human Trafficking Task Force comes into play. Because if we can prevent someone from entering that lifestyle, that's what we want to do. So when we make arrests, we have made numerous arrests for prostitution, made numerous arrests for solicitation, and we've made numerous arrests for human trafficking. We feel that our efforts have reduced the sex trade in Prince George's County dramatically. So, again, as Mr. Stanton said, if there's information that anyone has that could lead to the identification of somebody involved in human trafficking, in sex trafficking, or someone who is in that lifestyle that we can help or that we can bring to justice, please bring us that information, because I believe there's no more deplorable crime than trafficking a human. So we would like to have that information if it's out there. And thank you very much.
Okay, so that rounds out our informational session. We'll now open the floor up for questions from the media or from the audience. Any questions?
I have a question about the pending lawsuit. So it sounds like you all have been trying to deal with what they call loopholes in federal time. Is there something that can be done on the legislative end to assist, or are you all continuously running into walls? How is this happening that these funds are their identities under?
We are currently looking at legislation. One of the things that we talked about was the actual use and occupancy permit. I can shut down a business that is there's a clear public safety danger immediately, but I can't do it if it's just a violation of the use and occupancy permit. So we're asking that the legislators look at giving us that authority to do that. So there are some things that we're looking at, yes.
So with the 2 clubs that were mentioned in the report, was that news to anyone in the county? Were you all aware that they were operating that way in the evening?
Fuegos is part of the federal lawsuit, so yes, we were aware of that. Irving's, we've done inspections on them, and the last information that we had, they were closed. And what we found out was that they were scheduling appointments. If you contact them, you want to have an event, a private event there, then that's what they were doing. So on the days that we did inspections, they were closed. So we have been aware of what they were doing.
So how does one deal with an issue like that?
Well, I mean, just as we mentioned, there is some work to be done on our side. There has to be an investigation. We have to develop probable cause, take them before the zoning hearing board, and do what we can to revoke their license.
And do you all believe, based on your investigations, that there is sexual trafficking or sex trafficking happening in those establishments, or are these people who are willingly working?
I'll let.
We actively monitor all the late night establishments within Prince George's County to include adult entertainment. To date, we have not made an arrest for prostitution or human trafficking out of either one of these locations, and we have not had a call for service for prostitution or human trafficking out of either one of these locations. And that's where we would appeal to anyone who has that information, who may be able to provide us with a victim, a witness, or footage of that activity, we'd like to have it, and I believe if we have that, you'll see that our actions will be swift. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Terry Tulliver with Fox 5. First, I'd like to say to Mr. Stanton and also to you, Mr. Nader, that, we appreciate your formal request for us to work with you on our stories. It's just been a matter of circumstance that we have not been able to do so thus far, but, we're certainly willing to work with the county and, further our story, but also give you the information and the tools that you need to, work on solving this problem. I do have a question for you, Mr. Nader. Are these clubs, are police officers approved to work part-time at either one of these clubs mentioned, Fuegos or Irving?
So I can speak on behalf of the Prince George's County Police Department. No Prince George's County Police Department is authorized to work in these clubs.
And just a follow-up to that, we went to these clubs, and what we saw, I know that you all do covert and overt operations. Is it just that we happened to be lucky to see the things that we saw that night and reported and shared with our viewers, or are these things that are consistent with some of the things that your department has seen?
Now, when you're saying what you saw, can you just explain what it is that you saw that would rise to the violation of the law?
I personally went to both clubs. At Irving's, I was able to purchase alcohol. At Fuegos, we saw a woman in the back naked with several men. As I walked the perimeter, there was sexual acts and illicit activities going on in Fuegos surrounding the stage and in the bathroom. So it was, and I personally witnessed all of these things. So I'm just asking, during your operations, are those things that are consistent that you may see with these clubs? And if so, then don't those rise to the level of criminal?
So I would say during our operations, if we see a criminal act, we will act upon it. We have not seen criminal acts. We have not seen acts that rise to the nature of being criminal. And if you have that information and you have footage, we would love to have it. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, Marina Morocco with Fox 5. This is for Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Cunningham, could you address how many times Fuegos and Irving's have been in violation recently, and for what, and how many times you have shut down? Because we understand that the county is saying that some of these establishments have been shut down in the past.
Fuegos has not been shut down. Again, it's part of the federal lawsuit. Irving's, at least 2 times we've shut them down, and they're back open. I don't have all the dates with me. October was one of 2014 was the last date, but I don't have the records with me now.
What's the violation?
That I'll have to get that information for you. And I think that was a police department closure. It was a public safety closure, as in regards to a shooting.
Public safety in regards to
Yeah,
shooting?
I believe.
And that was Irving.
Yes. And if you want to talk
And the
about that.
fire-
Yeah, go ahead. Real quick.
Good morning. Lieutenant Jordan with the Prince George's County Police Department. I was the coordinator for this task force. I just want to emphasize again that it's we emphasize public safety. It was a very effective program that concentrated on all the permits that were issued to these locations. As far as Irving's and the shooting, it was in October of 2014. It was a non-contact shooting, and it was closed by the Prince George's County Police Department for being a public safety hazard.
Mr. Cunningham, once again, I have another question for you. You say you can't shut down these establishments because they're operating as adult entertainment when they have banquet hall licensing. What about selling alcohol when there's full nudity? Can you address any of those concerns?
Well, the nudity again would be the adult dancing. The alcohol is managed by the liquor board. They are the ones that handle alcohol establishments within Prince George's County. If we notice a violation again, our process is to take them before the zoning hearing board. We cannot shut them down immediately for that.
So it takes a shooting or a homicide to shut down one of these establishments?
That's not what I said. What I said was that no, it does not. It has to be a safety concern. A safety concern could be a building code violation where there's an improper structure. It could be a space that's not being properly used. There's several different things, but they have to be a safety concern.
So when a building is not being properly used, so that does not constitute a banquet hall being used as adult entertainment?
It's not a safety concern. Depending on what the use is, it depends upon the circumstance. I can't give you every circumstance that would create a safety concern. However, that would not rise to that occasion.
But if there are minors who are operating in these clubs, Would that be a safety concern?
If there are minors operating within a club and we're made aware of it, we can address that. I don't know if it would rise to the level of shutting it down immediately. We would take that before the zoning hearing board, and we would ask them to make a determination.
So there would be no immediate arrest if there are minors found operating in these clubs?
It depends on what the circumstances are. If they're just going into a club, no, you may not shut it down for that. If there are illegal activities and there are some type of immediate concern for safety, then yes, we can do it.
I'm going to let the police department answer that real quick.
And I think there's a little bit of difference of when you're talking about revoking a zoning permit and a legal action, a violation of the law. Violation of the law, we can take swift actions. So if we determine that there was a violation of the law, we can make an immediate arrest. That arrest may or may not lead to the closure of the club, but that's when that would be taken forward as evidence and given over to the zoning hearing board that will look at it and make that determination. But what I want to make clear is if there's a violation of the law, it'll be a swift action. It won't be something that we would allow a juvenile to continue dancing in a adult entertainment venue. So I think there's a little bit of difference when we talk about taking away a use and occupancy permit and then enforcing the law. So we have to kind of look at it as separate entities.
I think my question is, it seems like there's been dozens of calls to service to both of these establishments. In addition, there have been dozens of violations of the law, whichever degree you may see them, whether they're violations of the law in criminal activity or violations when it comes to licensing and permitting. And it seems like it's recidivist, it's constant. These are problems that we brought up back in 1999. We spoke with the state prosecutor's office. We're bringing them back up in 2014. And I apologize if it seems like we're the bad guys, but for some reason, we're not getting answers. There's no comprehensive number, and yet these places still exist. There's constant violations, both criminal and licensing. So what's the answer? I think that's the question.
Well, when you say there's constant criminal violations, what are they?
Seen them, but what I'm saying is if you're
Right.
telling me that there's a minor, I mean, we spoke with girls that are believed to be minors. Now, obviously, these girls likely are being told by someone else they can't speak to us and their life is on the line. So I don't have the authority to force someone to give me that information.
And so what I would say is, if they appear to be minors, that doesn't mean they are minors. However, if you can somehow put us in contact with them where we verify that a crime exists.
That have come to Courtney's house, which is working with us, and said we are being forced into prostitution, and therefore I believe the definition of forced prostitution would come under the umbrella of sex trafficking.
And if that's the case, we would like to be afforded the opportunity to be put in contact with those victims.
They won't talk to us.
Yeah,
I know
so
we've tried to speak with them. They won't talk to us, and obviously, but I'm not going to risk their safety nor their lives.
right, but if we have mechanisms in place to help people in situations like that, but we have to be put in contact with them. We have to have them have access to us or us to have access to them in order to start this ball rolling.
You said that you have covert operations, and I want to make sure that I quoted you correctly. You operate on a daily basis?
The units are out, not every day, but they are out or weekly. They visit various locations throughout the county, yes.
On covert operations?
On covertly, yes.
Could you elaborate any on your methods?
I don't want to get into the methods of a covert operation because then that would make them ineffective.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just have one more question for Gary. You said that it was your understanding that Irving's was now open by appointment only, is that correct?
That is some of the information that we had, yes.
And how recent is that information?
That's what we got within the last few weeks.
Okay. So would it surprise you that we just went past last weekend and they were open for business and charging $20 cover for anyone in the public that wanted to go in?
Even though it's a private event, if they're allowing people to come in from the public, that is something that we'll look at and we'll investigate and figure out what's going on with it.
All right, that'll end our questioning. If you want to talk to some of the people after the event, you can do so at that point. To the back?
But there's one more question.
Oh, one more question? Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm Jennifer Jones, and I'm chair of the Prince George's County Commission for Women. We have been working intimately through the Human Trafficking Task Force with all of the departments that are presented here. So to Fox 5, before I ask my question of them, can you please let me know how we can work with you we work with Courtney's House, Fair Girls, Samaritan Women, and every other victim services really is an amazing unit that the county has formed in the Health and Human Services Division to address domestic violence and human trafficking. Can you help us, and can we liaison on behalf of our county to get the footage and to engage the individuals who may not want to talk directly to law enforcement, but we are willing to liaison that for you? Will you be willing to work with
They're working
our
with Courtney's
commission?
house, but we'll definitely speak with
But I
them.
mean, beyond, I know Tina well, but with the Commission for Women that have been advocates of.
We'd be happy to talk to you about it after.
Thank you. And my question to the panel, and thank you so much for this morning's press conference, beyond the pursuits for legislation on the Human Trafficking Task Force, I happen to be chair of the legislative subcommittee. So we have been successful on both county and with the Maryland Human Trafficking Task Force at getting legislation passed. Can you please let us know from a citizen perspective what we can do and how we can work with you to capture, document, and get this legislation pushed forward so that it comes from the voice of community supporting your exemplary efforts?
Yeah, and we appreciate that, and we are presently looking at a number of legislative issues. This, let me just be clear before we close. This is a very complex issue. This is a very complex issue that we are aware of. We know we have some loopholes, but I want to assure the community, I want to assure the public that we are working hard to deal with this issue. This is a tough issue, but we are on top of it and we are moving forward. So at this point, I want to close the press conference. Yes, sir.
My name is Eugene W.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so very much. First, I would like to thank Rashawn Baker and his administration for this press conference and briefing to let us know what your efforts have been and what your efforts are currently, and what we hope will be a plausible outcome as a result of these efforts. So thank you so very much on behalf of the community. Of course, from the perspective of the community, there is angst on our side as this has been an ongoing issue. So we don't want to suggest that the county government has not done anything. This has obviously been going on before the Rashawn Baker administration, so no one is going to attack the county executive or his administration for this problem because it was going on prior to him coming into office. However, he is the one sitting on the wall. He is the one who is the leader of the county. And so, again, I appreciate this effort. However, from our perspective, of those who live in proximity to one of these establishments that have to deal with the cars that park and block people's driveways, to the trash that is left out on the grounds, and to the loud noises that disturbs people in their rest in the evening. Our angst is that we want to see swift action. So in that vein, can you give us some type of a timetable in which you're going to move on these issues where there is a resolution?
Well, I'm not going to speak for the county executive. I am going to speak as public safety director for the county. I am going to speak as one of the team leaders for the TNI, and I know how we deal with things. I can tell you within the next month, we're going to come out to the community. I'm going to have our police department, district commander, go out and talk to the community about this particular issue. We're going to look at the trash. We talked about needles and things around that community, but I don't necessarily say that it's all because of this establishment, because it's in other areas. So we are working hard to clean up those issues. So I am going to make sure, Mr. Grant, that in the next month or before that we get our government out to your area to help you with cleanup.
And we pledge to work with you, both the mayor, the three mayors in that area, we pledge to work with you.
Thank you. Barry?
Thank you.
Thank you.
For adult entertainment in the county, where these establishments can have a legal permit and it's clear what they're doing, or does that not exist?
What I was going to say is you can ask these questions afterwards, so we've stopped now. So the press conference is over, but you can ask those types of questions if you'd like of any of the people who are here. Okay? So they're available right here for you to talk to.
Thank you all very much.